Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for August 9th, 2019. I am back in business today. I was just taking a little break from my videos, and as you can see I did put up some, Disney roller coaster videos that I did take while I was away. I just feel like I need to put something on while I was away. I couldn't just not do a video for about 10 straight days, so. As always, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell notifications. Never miss one of my videos again. And leave a like for this video if you want to, and please look in the description for other videos of mine with superior weather content you won't find anywhere else. And as a way of helping out my channel, please consider watching the entire video. So today is going to be my big 10th Atlantic hurricane discussion. It's my 10th one for 2019 season. El Nino has officially ended, and this means growing concerns for the Atlantic Ocean. Although things are quiet now, they might not be later. So let's hop right into it here. As you can see, we are in an inactive phase, and if we look here, we're starting to see some blues mixing into the map. So that means bad news. That means neutral pattern. Let me actually pull up, because there's different, what I'm going to show you in this video is tropical tidbits on the CDAS data, but there's also different data like from the NOAA that I can show you as well real quick. And while that's getting itself together, let's look at this sea surface and the steep subsurface. But look at this, the trade winds. Now remember, above average trade winds is a La Nina feature. Let's call it a feature. Weaker trade winds is an El Nino feature. And yes, they are above average. But we're starting to see a return of below average trade winds across the central and equatorial Pacific. So, but that is starting to fade away a little bit. There is definitely more of above average trade winds. So that's why we are experiencing a neutral phase now. El Nino is officially ended. So let's look at the latest here from the NOAA 50 km analysis. And according to this, not the CDAS data, but from this, a couple spots below average, but they're saying MDR is a little bit above average here. And pretty much the whole entire Atlantic Ocean is pretty much above average. However, in the Pacific, you can just see, look at this. Look at these blues starting to come in. That is definite signs of neutral. I did look at the Weather Channel, and it should be available, for your TV. It's also actually like a weather channel on television, but they did show that in the Atlantic, when there's a neutral season, that's when you get the most named storms. However, La Nina, on average, climatologically, usually provides you the most hurricanes and the most major hurricanes. But climatologically, neutral phase provides more named storms, just not major hurricanes. But still, it can provide more hurricanes than El Nino, though. So that's why we have to watch out for this season. Looking at the satellite loop, little spinning feature here, but it looks like it's getting dried away by a cold front, so I'm not really worried about that. But seeing some stuff out in the Atlantic, however, there's this huge push of dry air coming in from the North Atlantic and from Africa, so not have to worry about too much development there. And almost looks like a lot of shear, maybe there's some shear coming across the Gulf of Mexico right now. And there is another wave getting ready to emerge off of the coast of Africa. So something to keep an eye on there. But other than that, nothing much to keep an eye on besides a little disturbance there near the Yucatan Peninsula. But that's just your typical, flare-up thunderstorms. So, looking at the East Tropical Atlantic, the ocean, it was never warm. Look at this. In the East Tropical Atlantic, since May, we've never got more than 0.2 degrees above average. Really? Other than that, it's been teeny tiny above average or just way below average. And look at this, we're just on a huge downtrend here. But remember, what goes down must come back up. As you can see, we took a huge dive in the beginning of June, we came back up. We took a big dive into ocean temperatures at the beginning of June, or the end of June, and the beginning of July, and we came back up. And now we're taking another dive, so probably by mid-late August, they'll probably start coming up. And you can see little signs of it starting to curve back up, so maybe a little bit of warming there in the East Tropical Atlantic. Nino 3.4, though, is 0.2, and it's been there for a while, so that's why we have to release, now that is a neutral phase. We have to release that forecast. So, with that being said, look at the ocean temperature anomalies. Caribbean now, used to be the Eastern Caribbean that was above average, but now the entire Caribbean is pretty much above average at this point. Gulf of Mexico, especially the western and southern part, is really above average, as well as the western Atlantic. So, it's really something to keep our eyes on here. Very concerned about this season now. We still got August, September, and October to go. 7-day changes. It's all. This was my least favorite one to look at. I mean, there's a bunch of scattered oranges here, blues here. Overall, the trend, it goes up, it goes down. But look at the actual ocean temperature, near 32 right there, but pretty much 31. Widespread across northern Caribbean, western Gulf of Mexico, widespread 30 31 degrees C surface temperatures. So that's excessively warm. That's more than enough. All we really need is about 27 plus degrees Celsius for to have potential tropical development. Now, and we're not just going to look at the sea surface. We're going to look at the the wind shears, the dry air. This is just to get started with the ocean temperature anomalies. CDAS data, but this shows really below average across the MDR right now in the East Tropical Atlantic, but warmer up to the north, like in the subtropical Atlantic. It has been getting better. A few spots have been seeing warming over the past 7 days, but really nothing. I'm not seeing excessive warming yet. And the ocean temperatures. So these tropical waves can form. I mean, they can push this way in waters that are near 80, but not quite 80. But once they get out in here, boy, can they explode. 30 degrees, widespread 29, 30 degrees Celsius across the much of the tropical Atlantic. So very concerned about this season, especially since now all the NOAA and all the weather experts, all the big bosses, and everybody's just saying how now they're concerned for an above average season. However, it is a little bit late, but remember, if conditions are getting more favorable and more favorable at the time of year that we see the most activity, that has me really concerned. Alright, this map's going to look a little bit confusing, so I'm going to explain it to you. It took me, I've known about this map for a few months or a year, but it took me a little bit to, register this. But now I completely understand it, and I can share it with you guys. So, based on the years 1967, 2013, and 2014, okay, this is the annual tropical cyclone frequency anomalies. Okay, and you can see those little gray lines are all the storm tracks. Now, as I've looked, which map is that? Okay, I must have lost it. Oh, here it is. So, 1967, I was just going to tell you, but I'll prove it to you guys. 1967, as shown here, is the neutral year. You don't see any reds or blues on the map. 2013, yes, 2013 was a neutral year, as well as 2014. Okay, we'll say, well, 2014 has reds at the end. No, we're just looking at pretty much this time period right here. June, July, August, September, and August, September, October. Those are your three month periods that we were looking at. And they were all neutral years. And we're in a neutral phase now. And look at this. Usually in these 3 neutral years, look at this. Look out the above average anomalies right in the MDR region. So this is why I'm really concerned. Also, the Western Atlantic is slightly above normal, but not as much above normal as I'm going to show you in a second. But the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean are actually a little bit below average. Doesn't mean there's zero activity, just a little bit below average when you have those neutral phases. But the East Tropical Atlantic and the Western Atlantic are more active, usually when it's a neutral phase based on these 3 years, as opposed to the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. Now, how about this? These are the same 3 years, except we're switching 2013 for 2004. And 2004 was a weak El Nino year. So, when we have a neutral or a weak El Nino, and you can see, we still got the active MDR, much more active Western Atlantic, much more active Caribbean, but Gulf of Mexico is still a little bit on the not as active kind of pattern. And this is for the United States. This is August through October, whatever, summer and early fall we have left. 1984, you can just read all those years up through 2018. These are all neutral years that I could squeeze in because they only provide you a certain amount of boxes. So these are all the years I could squeeze back in those boxes, going from most recent to least recent. So, with that being said, with these years listed up top, 84 all the way through 18, but not 84 through 18, but in between, but there's a few years that I left out because not every year is a neutral year. So all these years compiled together, and this is your temperature anomalies. A little cooler in the central and southern plains in the Ohio Valley. However, the west coast and the east coast are above average. So that should instantly ring a bell in your mind that we have sort of a jet stream pattern like this. Something like that. And that's bad news because if you have a tropical system coming in like this, there is no kind of jet stream pattern to push it out. If anything, if the jet stream maybe gets down here, it'll take the storm and push out towards the eastern seaboard. So jet stream pattern really helps determining like where the tropical system goes, how much does it strengthen, all that. So, but the jet stream more so helps with the directional steering. So, if we have a jet stream like this, however, which we'll never have because it's summer, this storm can get steered out to sea. But it's not. It's going to stay overall flatter, but still, warm, and maybe push that tropical system. Let me draw my little tropical system here. Up to the north. So, we'll have to see, but center of the country, cooler temperatures, east, west country, all above average temperatures. Very simple there. Precipitation, however, is a little bit more scattered. It's definitely more variant as well. Central Plains, Southern Plains, Ohio Valley, Gulf Coast, Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast. All areas, or in the Great Lakes, if I haven't said that already, those are all areas we can see above average precipitation. Well, where we have seen from now through October based on all the other neutral years dating back to 1984. And on a 1981 to 2010 long-term average. Northern Central California is a little bit drier usually, but coastal Northwest is a little bit wetter. So, but overall, Southwest is average precipitation for neutral years. However, average is not good in the Southwest. Average precipitation is never good because it's always dry. So if it's average, that means it's always dry. If it's drier than average, that means it's really, really dry. And if it's wetter than average, we will be okay. But right now, it looks average for precipitation, which it's kind of good news. However, maybe a little bit below average precipitation based on neutral years in northeastern Utah. So, something to keep our eyes on, but 1 year could just make a big difference. How strong can these tropical systems get? Orange and red is what you want to look for favorable to highly favorable conditions for tropical development. And we see them all over the place, right here in the western Atlantic. Okay, so I have to draw somewhere. So let me zoom out real quick. Okay, there we go. And you can see much of the Caribbean definitely favorable for development. Northern Gulf Mexico, Western Gulf Mexico, and the Western Atlantic are also favorable for development. That's weird. This map does not show for the tropical Atlantic. I wish it did, but that's okay. You could this gives you an idea from 9:04 a.m. today. This gives you an idea of can these tropical systems strengthen if they do form. As I said before, here's that dry air just streaming on down from the north and northeast direction. And that's going to help to kind of knock this storm out, this little tropical wave here. And it's already battling dry air, as you can see. And if it can get through this little bit here, maybe out here, it could develop, but still looking fairly stable right now, but that could change. Here's some activity here over by Mexico. Can there be a steering pattern? Can it drift north? Will it go out to the east? It's going to drift, to the west, excuse me. It is going to drift to the west, but a piece of it, if there is enough wind shear, and this is when wind shear might come into play, be good for hurricanes to strengthen. Now, hold on. You might be confused, but I'll show you. So, wind shear can come out of this direction, knock off these storms, and just send them into the Atlantic. Then the wind shear weakens in the Atlantic, potentially, and then it could form from that. So it's like a former wind shear knocking it out, but then the wind shear comes back, it weakens. So maybe a piece of it could break off and develop, potentially. That's how it could work. But wind shear overall is bad for hurricanes. A lot of dry air in place still right now. Okay. Let's look at the oceanic heat content. Excessive is the word I have for the Caribbean. Excessive. Let me say it again. Excessive. Excessive oceanic heat is in place across the Caribbean, especially where you see these reds, and even darker reds is even worse. But yellows is really all you need for some excessive oceanic heat. And we do have that as well over in the western Gulf of Mexico. So, we definitely got that warm ocean and excessive heating. This map I had to zoom in, so it's going to be a little bit blurry, but this is the same thing, oceanic heat. Here it is, excessive heat there in the northern Caribbean Ocean for some potential development. Wind shears are kind of bad. They're like, but they have been decreasing. You see these little pockets of blue dotted lines over parts of the Atlantic where they might say -5. That's where wind shear has dropped by 5 knots in the last 24 hours. With the white solid lines, however, that might say 5, 10, or 20. That means it would increase by 5, 10, or 20 knots over the past 24 hours. And you want to see blue and green, more preferably blue. Green is like, but once you start getting into yellows, then forget it. And not the worst amount of wind shear, certainly, but definitely not looking favorable for development in terms of the wind shears either, but it could certainly be a heck of a lot worse. Alright, so this is vertical shear. Now I'm going to explain to you what the difference between vertical shear and speed shear is in one of my next videos, so stay tuned for that. So if you want to learn about that, just stay tuned to my next video and I'll explain those both to you. But basically, let's just refer to this right now as wind shear, which is actually what it is, except it's vertical shear. But refer to it now as just wind shear until I explain it next video or next couple of videos, and you can understand more what it means. But overall, look at the Caribbean. Ever since March and April and May, we have really just plummeted with the shear, and that is good news for hurricanes to develop. And those numbers on the left are measured, I believe, in knots. So it's really only between 10 and 15 as of right now for this August. So looking slightly more favorable than it did before. Tropical Atlantic, again, ever since, April and May, March, April, May, we've just plummeted to 10 to 15 knots of wind shear overall. Not in every single spot, but overall. And in the southeast, could we see a dry pattern? If we do, we're already in a drought now. Same thing for Texas. Same thing for up there in northwest United States. Alaska is dry, Puerto Rico is dry, and Hawaii is dry. So many dry spots. But I've seen it a lot worse. Can this drought monitor, can these droughts go away? We'll find out and see what these hurricanes do, what they plan on doing for these areas. Of course, not Alaska, because, they don't really get hurricanes. But they do get those nice little low-pressure systems. Should I flip that around? Yes. These little low-pressure systems that glide in sometimes and produce some rain. So we'll see. But that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell notifications before you leave. Thank you for watching. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Catch you guys next video.